Good morning, everyone. Yeah, very good morning. Shall we begin the session? Yes, today's topic is the record sheet, right? Good, good. So whenever we talk about the record sheet, that means a maintenance, or we can say the records or the summaries that is maintained via bibliographically or via theoretically. That means we have to maintain some knowledge, we have to maintain some data that is known as a record sheet. Yes, that record sheet may be the duplicate records or that may contains whatever the data that you want, so that is available within the information that have gathered. How do the students share the information that they have gathered, shaped and analyzed? And the term paper is only used, so that is only one way of sharing information. And teachers should also encourage the students to develop a broad and tentative, we can say the repetitive of the presentation formats and the technique. So this division will be used for the further ideas. So this is one of the record sheet. From where does our water come? Where it is located in the alberta? How was water used in the past? How is water used today? How is water transported? So these are the various questions that arises from the record sheet. So from where it comes, where it will happen, and the criteria, and how it is used, how it is developed, and other interesting facts are that it is always available in the outcome that comes in the past. That there are two different ways. So there are multiple varieties of way. Okay, all right. Wait for 5 minutes more. Again, next topic is how to gather the information or how to provide the information with a variety of ways that is helpful to record in the record sheet. So how this information will be provided? So this information will be provided on the water in a variety of ways. For example, which can be controlled using the sources, example readings, pictures, charts, guest speakers, field sources, films, and so on, and how students complete their record sheet. And on completion, as a school record or as a class record, information gathered on a large wall chart that reflects the questions, whatever the question that is applied on the student record sheet, and they have a students add any additional information to their own record sheets. And when the information is collected out, discuss the ways of sharing this. What are the various ways to share the information? Example written reports, example audio tapes, illustrations, collages, cartoons, yes, pictures, maps, anyone that is used for recording the sheet, so that you gather the information, you have a full-fledged record that you collect the data. And have each student present information that answers one of the questions research using a means of his or her choice. So that is his or her choice that makes what information should be gathered, what information should be supplied. The next is display boards. So divide the class into the pairs or small groups and have a student choose their natural resources, either renewable or non-renewable, for an in-depth case study. And students are also exempted to use a variety of the methods to present their information, whatever the information they have. So first is mining records. For example, coal, the formation of the coal, that then there's the present day uses, then the men who was mined that, how was the coal was formed, where is the coal found in the alberta, and how the coal will be transported from one place to another place. Then what are the material used? Either you use the code box, either you use the any box, that will be a pizza box, anything that gathers the information about the crossword puzzle, about the game. Then true or false questions, true or false answers, task cards, application of information, activities, what activities that you shared, what activities that you make to send the information within the group. So if I'm talking about the true or false questions, that this is a part of the MC. Yeah, these are the part of the objective, not the MCQ. These are the parts of objective questions, and although there is a written note, some descriptive questions are also available for the task, for the cards, for the crossword puzzles, for the KB. Next is the debating, that is also more formal than the discussion. Why? Because this is the context, so this is the speech between two teams who test their skills in argument to win the audience support. And debating also follows the rules of the procedures, that is very competitive. So first characteristics is that it is very competitive. It requires that the participants takes a position either affirmative or negative which cannot be changed. It is more formal than the discussions and follows the rules of the procedures. It is objective, starts with the proposal. Starts with the proposal, make the best choice of it, win approval for that side. Then rules are the subject, it has both two sides, both of which are capable of being argued. To avoid the confusion, it must be worded positively, not negatively, and that information will be provided to the user as soon as possible, that is stated earlier and briefly. Okay, just read out. So shall we start again? Okay, so the main objective of debating is that it is very competitive, it is the demand in the market that follows the rules, that starts with a proposal, that makes the best cases for it, that wins approval for that side. And that is more formal than the discussion and also follows the rules of procedures. And that require that a participant takes a position, either affirmative, negative, which cannot be changed. And whatever the style they are using, so that style is the argumentative and the persuasive. Now rules are, first is the subject, it must have two sides, both of which are capable of being argued. And to avoid the yes, they have a two side. There are two opinion for this because without two opinion, there's no use for the we can say the debate. There are two opinion, then only there is a usage of the debate. It must have two sides, both of which are capable of being argued, and to avoid the confusion, it must be worded positively, not negatively. So, anyways, when we use the debate, so it avoids the confusion, and that must be worded positively, not negatively. And it should be stated clearly and briefly. So whatever you want to state, that you must state clearly and briefly. Then debaters, who are the debaters? The side that supports the subject is known as affirmative. The side does not support is known as a negative. And each team should prepare its arguments carefully, decide what points are to be covered by which speaker, consult the books, prepare the notes or the cards, and anticipates the opponent's views. And each debater's speech should be as best example, good example of the sound arguments. That is a better approach to clarify, establish 4 or 5 solid points, than to list a catalog of the points. And procedures, the main motto, main aim is that that announces the topic, that announces the portfolio, that introduces the speakers, whatsoever the speakers speak in the order, that first be the affirmative, then first negative, then second affirmative, then the second opinion, then the second negative opinions. In the first speaker for the affirmative makes a rebuttal. This is the procedure that announces, that carries, or that follows up. So first of all, chairman announces the topic, introduces the speaker, explain any time limits, announces the judge's decision. And the decision is given to the side that is more effectively used, that are more effectively presented and refuted the arguments. Then next is the oral presentation of the speeches. Whatever the speech that is given, so that makes a Yeah, that is follows from the junior also, junior higher education, high social studies also. So main topic is the oral presentation and the speech. So oral presentation and the speech follow the simpler or the similar procedure or process to writing. As in the pre-writing stage, research and organizing information are necessary steps. Preceding a speaking task and simple steps are necessary for effective speaking. First is prepare an oral presentation of the speech. You must prepare an oral presentation of the speech. Then for preparing this oral presentation, first of all select the topic. Which topic do you want to consider or which topic do you want to produce? Then next is carry out the research. Make a research on that topic, whether that topic is relevant to speak in front of the audience or not. Make an outline, that means organize the information in a sequence manner so that this information will be presented to the multiple audience, so that if there is no chance that the student or the audience will laugh or any point that is not relevant to the scale, so that is not relevant to the subject matter. Then make notes. An important point to cover is that these should be reminders only, not to be read. Then practice. So one is the topic, one is research, one is outline, one is notes, one is practice. Know the topic and the sequence. Plan effective and interesting openings. Practice often in front of those who can offer the constructive criticism. So B. So make a practice until make a practice. Right. Next is next is speak clearly and distinctly. Or this yes, speak clearly means the length of a report. Make the speech clear and crispy. Pronunciation is also very important. Audibility, volume, and pitch are also important qualities. There are a variety of the speeches, vary the voice, avoid the monotonous pattern. Then speak slowly rather than quickly, or occasionally. Correct the sentence structure. Whatever the structure that we want to follow, so that correct that one. The next is delivery. So first is the preparing, then speaking, then delivery. Look at the audience, establish the eye contact, then start slowly. Aim voice at someone at the back of the room. Good posture, relaxed tense. Avoid mannerism that may distract, that is pacing, hand movement or anything. Use the confidence or gain the confidence to control the attention. That is enthusiasm is very much important for delivery. You must be enthusiastic or confident to control attention. So these are the delivery terms, that is you must follow the eye contact, you must follow or start slowly, you must aim or voice at someone at the back of the room, good posture, relaxed stance, avoid the mannerism that may distract, pacing, hand movement, confidence to control the attention. Next is evaluation. So independence, creativity and the self-reliance are all facilitated when there is a self-criticism and the self-evaluation are the basic part. So evaluation stage also plays a very vital role, important role in the creation, in the development of the research skills, and this stage is made up of the two evaluation components. One is the ongoing component, one is a review component. While the activity is happening, teachers and students evaluate the process and the product, And after the assignment is complete, teacher and students identify the strength, needed improvement, and transferability of the activities. And following examples also provides ideas for implementing both the components, either evaluation, either make the vital role in the development of the research skills. And the evaluation criteria is fulfilled, technique is fulfilled, that is a strategy that will help the students make the greater progress in learning that can be used as an evaluation technique. And the following tools may be used for the evaluation, that may be observation, that may be journal, daily log, checklist, student self-evaluation, incidental records, conferences or the interviews with the students, organizing materials, questionnaires, inventories, test, quiz. These are all part of the evaluation. Then observations. By observing the students, teachers can evaluate the process of learning as well as the product. And this evaluative data may be obtained by observing and listening to the students' comments, questions and expressions, observing the group interaction, listening to the group discussions, observing drama plays and the role plays, observing the students the use of the time and the material, observing the students while they anticipate or while they participate in the classroom activities. And this is an ongoing evaluation tool that cannot be separated from the daily classroom activities. So it is known as a continuous process, that is an ongoing process that goes till at the end. Because analysis, observation is one of the part that must be carried out at each and every phase. That cannot be stopped. So just read out these things, and then next is what are the various techniques that is used for the evaluation. Just read out. Different techniques, that is what are the various techniques that must be followed up or that must be used for the evaluation. First is the journal or the daily log. On the daily basis, there will be a log, there will be a diary that is maintained, so that records activity over social studies period and also evaluates their own progress. They might also express his opinion about such activities or the topic, and the teacher can use this information to draw the conclusion about the student's activity, about their understanding, about their plan for the future appropriate or to plan for the future appropriate activity. So what are the various activities that are performed? So first is make them comfortable, that is how they are going to gather, how they are going to use activities that must be performed, that must be followed up, that plan the information to draw the conclusion about the student understanding and also plan for the future appropriate activities. Now, this is an example. Today we bought a label from the home. We made a neat chart that showed where things are came from. There were as many as under the Canada, and I wonder where the robots were found. That makes a journal entry that makes the teachers may conclude that the student did understand the activities. It might also indicate to the teacher that a follow-up activity such as finding out where the student's favorite toys are made, that would be motivating. The next is collecting the materials. How we can collect that? So one is the journal, daily log that we have maintained, that the daily basis report we have maintained. Then collecting material, the collection of the samples of the work produced by the student can also serve as a profile of the student's sequential growth, development, and to be very useful, the material must be dated. That means they are not outdated, they must be correctly formed and they must be dated within the time. So that collecting the material is also one of the main things. The next is a checklist. So make a checklist that can be used at various stages to evaluate the achievements of the objectives. That reason may be gathered to ensure that there will be a sequential growth in the development. Now, checklists can be used at the various stages to evaluate the achievements of the objectives. They can be used to monitor the student's progress or to serve as a record of concepts and the skills produced, developed, and also tested and maintained. And students can be observed as they were working by themselves or as a part of a group. And various simple activities or checklists are provided. Teachers should modify these to meet the objectives of the unit as well as to meet the needs of the student. Whatever the need that we carried out, so that needs will be gathered, that needs will be satisfied with the checklist. The next is a group effectiveness appraisal form. This is one of the copy that shows the name, the group, project title, audience. The radial grouping on the basis of 1 to 5. 1 is poor, then 2 is fair, 3 good, very good, and the excellent. So we work cooperatively with all the group members. We accomplished what we set out to complete, and we were satisfied with the performance of the staff group task. And we used our group time effectively or efficiently without wasting or misusing the time. And we all contributed fairly in the completion of this group task. The next is the personal assessment and the observations. Did you feel satisfied with your own participation in the project? Do you think that the project participation was fairly equal? That is, do you feel others in your work growth well and also contributed? Do you think that there are some ways your group could have been improved and therefore produce a better finished product? That must be honestly do their work or their work. And any helpful movement that you may think of. This evaluation is most appropriate for the students from grade 4 to 6. That is the research activities, my information retrieving or retrieval skills.